Normally, we do not record our publisher roundtables, and that was a decision the board made because some of us compete against each other, and some of us might want to say something in a roundtable or ask about a problem or get help that they wouldn't want their competitor to be aware of. And when we're on a publisher call and we can see who all's on the call, then we know if we want to speak up or not. Because this is more of a training session, as was the football contest that we just did last month. The board did decide to go ahead and record, so just giving everybody fair warning, we are being recorded today. For everybody who's just joining, I would ask that you go to the bottom of your screen, click on chat, and give us your email address. I will compile all those emails and I will share them with our presenters today, and then they will add you to their product for the e-blast that they're sending out. So you'll be able to have access to what they're creating and what they're explaining to you today. So I think we should go ahead and get started here. I'd like to first thank everybody for being on the call, and especially Shane and Janelle for helping us out today. So we're going to start with Janelle. She is going to talk to us about the e-blast that she does for promoting her paper internally. And Janelle, maybe you could introduce yourself, your daughter, tell us a little about your publication. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Janelle with the News Leaders of Sartell, St. Stephen, and St. Joseph. My daughter is actually the one who's been preparing and doing our email blasts for us for probably a year and a half now. So she's the expert, so I'm going to defer to her. But she's on the call too, and her name is Rajana. And I'm screen sharing, so I will do that right now. And whenever you're ready, Rajana, go right ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Hi, everybody. It's so good to see all of you today. My name is Rajana with the News Leaders, and today we'll just be talking through some of our steps of how we do our email blasts and planning that, and also have some time at the end for a couple questions as well. All right, so just to kick things off here, there are 4 key steps that we're going to talk about today. The first one being planning important promotions and content in advance. And that's just talking about content that you're sending out in your email blast. The second part here is choosing an email program that fits your company. That's really important because everyone has different sizes in their company, different customers that they're targeting. So really finding that CRM or email that fits for you. Third thing here is creating a schedule that'll really help with your time management and getting ahead of the game. So we'll talk about how we plan all of our emails. And then lastly, just scheduling that outgoing content.
So I'm going to present the planning important promotions and content in advance. We set up our calendar year 3 to 6 months in advance with our special sales and events and sections and so forth. We designate deadlines for customers to respond to emails by, and we make the deadlines consistent across all the features, so they kind of expect to have certain deadlines on certain promotional things. And we promote our company's sales features as a part of the mass email campaigns to get customers to commit early.
All right, so this next part, choosing a mass email system for your company, focusing on here next. So with the company, oh, it froze for a second. There we go. I think we're on here now. Right, so choosing a good system for you. There are tons of different email systems out there in the world right now, between MailChimp, HubSpot, Mailgun, several others along the way too. So really finding a program that fits your budget. And most of that is going to be based off of the number of marketing contacts you may have. So for instance, your marketing contacts, those are just the people that you want to receive the email blasts. So for our company, we have around 1,000 250 contacts just for marketing, even though as a whole, we probably have about 4,000 contacts. So really knowing your audience and how many people you have will be essential when you're choosing that mail blast system. The next thing you want to look for in your system is really finding something that's easy to use, templates, such as using drag and drop systems to create your emails, especially when you're doing a lot of repetitive emails, sending out the same things once a week, once every month. You don't want to have to go back and recreate that. So either creating your own templates that are easy to manipulate or finding templates already that are on those mail systems will be very helpful. And then lastly, just making sure that that email system you are using is very user-friendly when you're scheduling those outgoing emails, such as planning specific times and dates for those to go out. And that's all based off of the calendar, as Janelle had mentioned when we set things up in advance. Just a quick pro tip here, really calculating the number of emails you can send based off of your mass email plan will be very helpful. So what this graph is showing here on the left-hand side, we have about 1,036 marketing contacts on here. And with our plan through MailChimp, we're able to send out approximately 12 mass emails using that system. Now, if you have more marketing contacts than that and are sending out emails more regularly, you may not qualify for free plans. So really looking at how many people and how many emails you can get for what you're wanting to accomplish in those email blasts. And of course, who doesn't like free? You can go ahead, Janelle.
I know I goofed up something there, sorry.
Can I just jump in real quick and say this slideshow will be made available after the call. And for anybody that's joined the call late, if you please go to the chat and input your email addresses for us so we can get information to you. Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. So the next part is creating an email schedule for all outgoing emails. So we designate specific days of the week to send out our mass emails. And then we also do targeted emails where we actually send their past ad or whatever they've done previously so they can choose whether or not they want to use that same ad or make corrections, adjustments, update their ads before they go in again. And alternate your emails so your audience isn't overwhelmed. So we do different types of emails on a weekly basis. Keep these days consistent month to month. This will help you get into a healthy planning habit as well as get your customers accustomed to a routine. So yeah,
for instance, with that one, we have all of our customers always responding to deadlines on Wednesdays. So we always keep our deadlines every single Wednesdays when they need to respond by. So that's just part of keeping that habit up.
And plan emails according to when your audience is most active. So we've done a few studies here and there, just kind of some experimentation as to if it's better to send out mornings or afternoons, Mondays, Wednesdays, or Tuesdays, Thursdays. We kind of keep track of that a little bit as far as just, seeing when we get the best response, and you just have to kind of feel that out over time. It's kind of one of those things that you just fine tune as you go along.
And I'm just going to jump in on that one, Janelle. So for our company, we found that our customers have a good response about Tuesday and Thursday mornings. However, we do run another company as well, and those customers are responding in the afternoons and on weekends. So it really just depends what your line of business is and what you're wanting from your customers. All right, so I'll jump down here then to scheduling outgoing emails to send in advance. So the first thing here is just schedule your emails a week or two in advance according to your schedule. A lot of times there are certain dates or deadlines that you're going to be wanting to set up in advance, but when you're scheduling them a week or two ahead of time, you're being able to check that content before it's sent out, making sure any links are up to date. And yeah, just getting them scheduled using that online system. And then lastly, just sitting back and knowing that your emails are being sent out. Definitely include your own email on those email blasts to make sure that they are sending out correctly. Every once in a while, if things aren't scheduled correctly, you may not see them come up. So again, that just falls under knowing your system and how the scheduling works. And yeah, for that concludes our presentation today on just how we do our email blasts at the company. What questions do all of you have for us? I'd be happy to answer.
I had a question. You said you also use this system to send out a copy of the ad that they ran the week before. Are you using a system? Obviously, you must be using a system to facilitate that, to attach that ad. How does that work?
Sure. So there are a couple different types of systems that you could use. If you're looking to do individualized emails in advance that have an attachment, we've been using HubSpot that allows us to sync up the PDFs for that individual customer, and that also plugs in the customer's name and the company name. But we also use targeted emails as well if you maybe have too big of content that may not be able to fit on that email. Does that help answer your question there, Lee?
Yes, it
Okay,
did.
perfect.
Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions right now? If not, we will move forward, and we'll have our next presenter, who's Shane. And I will, as I said, please, if you haven't already, please put your email address in the chat below. And I also will send out the email if you would like the address of our speakers if you want to contact them direct, or you could just type a message that you'd like their email. Okay, so without further ado, let's introduce Shane Goodman. And Shane, take it away, please.
All right, well, thank you, Lee. So I'm going to start this by sharing with you that I'm by no means an expert on this, but I'm learning just like all of you guys are. And I just learned some things from Janelle's presentation too. So thank you. Mine is not going to have a big fancy PowerPoint, but I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about how I came up with these ideas and where I hope to still take it. First, I'd like you to know that this conversation started over a cold beverage with Tim Bingaman at an MFCP conference, where Tim said, Shane, you really ought to be getting into email marketing and gathering emails and creating lists. And he shared with me some ideas, and we had been doing that with CityView, with our monthly arts and entertainment publication, for more than 15 years, but we really weren't doing it with anything else, and we weren't using these emails very effectively. So this page that Lee has up right now shows all the options you have in terms of email subscribing in our company. So we do what I would call a sneak preview for CityView, where it shows what is in the publication. We're monthly, but we send an email out every week showing what is in that. We also have people sign up for our events so they can get information on those. And then each one of our individual lifestyle magazines has its own email blast that goes out every week too, as well as some other things that we do. But the one I really want to talk to you about today is the Daily Umbrella, because this is the piece that I've been experimenting the most. So I believe that Lee's going to pull up that actual email.
Yep, she is.
So the umbrella idea comes from the name of our company, Big Green Umbrella Media. And I always had this thought that we could do some type of daily email newsletter type publication. So that's what this ended up being. And I'll tell you what really pushed me to do this is, some of you are familiar with a company called Axios. And Axios announced that they were going to launch efforts similar to this in 4 new markets this year, one of them being Des Moines, where we're based at. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I better get ahead of it. So this is what we did. I'm going to walk you through the content of it so you get an idea of what we think is important to have in a publication like this, or an email like this. So on the first page here, you'll see I just do a short little column every morning. It's lighthearted, it's fun, but it gives it some personality. And I think that's one of the most important things you need to do is find some type of personality with it, whether that's you or someone on your staff, but something that gives it that local personal flair. My columns are silly. They're not intended to get too deep, but they just give us something that we can get some discussion going on. Can you scroll down? So one of the things people are most interested in is weather. So I have a friend who is a meteorologist for a local TV station. He has since left that job, and he now is does mortgages for a company. But he still kind of markets himself as the weather guy. So he sends me this graphic every day, and we put his weather forecast up. There may be a revenue or sales opportunity with that at some point, but right now that's a simple and easy thing that you can put up that people like. The next piece is a paid ad. So this is a featured event that we have, and it's actually in Keokuk, Iowa, which if you guys know where that's at, it's a long ways from where we're at, but this group wanted to advertise with us and market to people in Des Moines. So we were happy to do that. Then we list a things to do. So every day we put something in there that's going on that is something for people to do in the area. Of course, right now the Iowa State Fair is starting, and that's the biggest event venue that we have in the state. The next piece is another one that I'm hoping to get some revenue on, but it's right now I'm doing it for free with one of our largest real estate customers, and it's a featured home for sale. I envision also a featured car for sale. Could be a variety of things, featured job of the week, but this could be a paid advertising piece. Again, we're priming the pump right now, trying to build it. The next piece is a suggestion that I had from a reader who said, can you put in there where the police are set up to do the traffic stops and where the traffic cameras are at? So that's public information, and we put it in here every day. And we also put information on road closures and things of that nature. The next piece is a summary from the 3 local TV stations of news stories that happened overnight. So this would be something that the daily newspaper would not have in yet, news that happened from the overnight hours. Sometimes it's stuff that's bigger news that happened late in the afternoon the day prior. But I didn't ask for permission from these guys. I think they're all very happy that we're doing it. It helps them, helps us, and it gives us some current content in there. Then we put sports scores in. So our local AAA baseball team is the Iowa Cubs. We put their results in along with the Iowa Wild and the Barnstormers and some of the other smaller professional teams that we have here. Now, of course, I use this to market ourselves too. So the next piece you'll see is City View's Best of Des Moines. We have more than enough categories to put something in every weekday here. So I put the results of our readers poll in one a day, every day. So this one was on best TV station for sports. And then there's a link to go through and read the entire information on our best of. Then we promote some of our stories. So this one is a personality piece that you see on a guy that has a unique flower bed. But we'll take one story and promote it in here each issue as well. Then I add jobs. So these are things, again, that I think could be a revenue opportunity someday. Right now, we're just listing out free job listings to anyone who submits it. And it's just been a feel-good thing for our customers that they appreciate what we're doing. So I put about 10 of them up there. The top one is a paid one right now. And then the other ones are listings for free. And then if you hit the link, you'll see all of the job openings that are there.
Do you want me to hit that link?
No.
Oh, duh, there.
So now I'll keep going. This is snapshots. So these are all reader submitted photos. And it's a great way to interact with your readers and get them to supply you with some information. It's usually silly pet photos like this, or plants, or something, sunsets, whatever it might be. But I'm amazed how many people will send these things in. And then again, some self-promotion. We put one example of one of our publications and a link to the full digital edition for it. We change that up every day with a different publication. We wanted to list out birthdays, anniversaries, those type things. And we get some of those submitted, but to prime the pump there, we put celebrity birthdays in there as well. And then each week in City View, we do a poll of the week. So I just repeated that poll with a link to where you can go and vote on that question of the week, along with the results from the prior week. The last thing there is our morning chuckles. So I like to have a little silly dad joke in there, and we invite our readers to guess the answer to the riddle, and we get a ton of response on this. And then Tammy, our editor, puts in all the people who guessed it right, and so it becomes kind of this ongoing piece where people want to get their name in there and see if they can guess it correctly. So that's the gist of it. Lee, can you pull up the dailyumbrella.com website too? So this was pretty slick, and the guy that handles this for us figured this out, but it's a very easy upload to this. One entry of a URL and it automatically updates it. So if you go to the archives on the far right, we're able to put every single one of these issues that we've had up here, and each posting every day only takes about 30 seconds. So it automatically pulls in all the photos and everything. There's no coding, no HTML. It's just really slick. So go back to that main page again, Lee. And scroll down a little bit. It's all the exact same information you see in the newsletter, but it gives us an option to have a website for it too, with the same information and no cost.
That's impressive.
Yeah, we kind of fell into that. It was really lucky. So I guess what my first piece of advice would be to focus on content. Just like everything we do, we think content is king. And if you don't have good content, you're not going to have good open rates, and you're not going to build an growing email list. So focus on the content. And again, I also think you got to have some type of personalization to it, or it's just going to be another of 50,000 emails that people get that really don't have much meaning. Second thing I would tell you is that we've had more feedback from this than anything I've ever done in the company. Every day I get a half dozen to a dozen emails from people saying, loved this, appreciate this, you ever thought about doing this? I never expected that much feedback, but we get a lot of it. Building the list, the third thing, that's the trick. So we have 10,566 emails in this daily email blast that we send out. Company-wide, we have about 25,000 emails that we've been able to collect, most of those in recent years. Contests, promotions, giveaways help, but doing it organically works the best. But that's the trick. You know, years ago when we started CityView's email blast, we put a pop-up on the CityView website that said, if you want to access our website for free, you have to give us your email address, and we're going to send you up to 2 emails a week. And we would, explain that as a benefit to them, as the kind of information they would get. And that worked. We haven't done that again, but I'm toying with that again at this point. I'm worried that'll reduce our web traffic, but I don't get a ton of revenue from that anyway, so it might be worth it just to build the email list. The national open rate for emails is 22%, and that's where we're at with the bulk of our emails. The daily one is lower than that. It's about 11%. And it's a lot to ask for somebody to open an email every single day like that. And I'm not finding any national averages or information on daily email blasts. What I'd like to do is find out a cum. So if I could say over the period of a week, X% are reading at least one of our email blasts from the Daily Umbrella. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that, but I haven't yet. We do post all of this on social media too. So every day we put a post for the Daily Umbrella on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Most of those, when you put them in there, it does an auto preview. So it pulls up your actual email and gives us an image of that each day too. Now, if I'm being really honest with you, I would tell you that delivery problems are a problem. So I will get people that say, hey, I got this for 3 weeks and now I haven't gotten it for 3 days. What's going on? Sometimes you can figure it out pretty easily. Kind of like Russ on his video thing today with trying to get this to pull up. Sometimes it's an easy fix, but sometimes there just isn't an answer. And we come from a world where it's pretty simple to figure out your distribution system and whether a home was delivered or not. It's not as simple with email. We can go into our system that shows it was sent, but we can't explain what happened on their end, why they didn't get it. So that's a frustration. I'm working through that and dealing with that. I contacted our provider today because we've had some problems with a number of customers saying they weren't getting it. And he explained to me that he had a customer who sent out 90,000 emails 2 days in a row, and they just got, listed as spam, and it's impacted everything that they're sending out. So it's impacting us too. So there's some hiccups in the process, but we just got to learn and keep working through them. Going back to our email that we send out again, we change the header of it every day, and we change my column photo quite frequently too, so that it doesn't look like the same email every day and it looks like something new. I think that's important, much like how you change the front pages of your publication so it doesn't look like the same thing. And then on most of the ones, not the Daily Umbrella, but everything else we send it out once, and then we resend it 2 days later to the people who didn't open it yet. And that will usually increase our open rate somewhere in the neighborhood of 5%. So we might have in the high teens in the initial open rate, and then it will jump from there. All right, I've rattled on a lot there, but I guess the biggest pieces of advice I would give to you is focus on content, focus on building your distribution list, have some type of website access for it, and use social media to your advantage to be able to reach out to new readers and subscribers for this too. And I'm open to any questions.
And how long does it take you to put together the Daily Umbrella, like from start to finish?
Our editor does most of it the day before, as much as can be done the day before. And she's an early riser, so she does it every weekday morning, usually about 5:30 or 6 a.m. And she'll spend anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes on it in the mornings.
And
But again,
go ahead.
she'll do as much as she can in advance.
Okay, so like when you add the house of the week and you add all of those things, are those components coming from different parts of your company, or is she compiling all of that?
The customer just told us pick any one you want. If it's on the website, it's for sale. So go ahead and pick one.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The news stories we pull that morning from the TV stations. But the self-promotion stuff, the digital editions, the joke, that stuff, it's all done in advance.
Okay. And when do you send them out? What time of day?
Every morning about 6 a.m.
Okay. And that's scheduled? It's scheduled to go out? You can just
Yeah.
schedule it and let it go?
Yeah. I mean, my view is you want this when you get up in the morning, right? You want this when you first get to work. If you're sending out at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, I think that's too late.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a bit inconvenient to do that, but I think it's important.
But it can be scheduled in advance to go out at 6 a.m. or does somebody have to actually push the button?
Well, it can, yes. And we do schedule most of our other email blasts, but this one, since so much of the work is still done that morning, I think she just waits till she finishes it and sends it.
Okay, I see. Good job. Thank you.
Shane, are you doing it just weekdays, or are you doing it weekends too?
We're just doing weekdays. We do it on holidays too. Again, most of it done in advance, but we're not doing weekends just for selfish reasons.
I have two questions as well. The first one being, when you change your emails daily, do you also change the preview text, or is that the same?
No, it's updated every day. So we usually take 2 or 3 things from that email. So Cubs win, 104-degree temperature today, and something else. But we'll usually do 3 things that we'll promote in the subject line each day.
Okay. And then secondly here, I was wondering, with all the hyperlinks and everything in your daily blast to either your website or the advertisers' websites, have you or they been seeing an increase in their website visitors since you've been having these daily email blasts?
I would think so, but I don't have real data to support that. I would certainly think the TV stations have. Well, in fact, I know because when we've had broken links, I get flooded with emails from people saying that link didn't work. And our own traffic has grown. And I think part of that is this too. So maybe the number one question we're all wondering is, are you making any money at this? And the answer is no. But I do look at it as a marketing piece too. So this is driving more readers to us. And in my own view, I think as we can build and grow this, we can have more revenue opportunities with it. But my goal is to have 30,000 subscribers and to have a 1/3 open rate so that I can have 10,000 people a day looking at this. That will drive results, in my opinion. But right now with 10,000 subscribers and 11% open rate, I don't think that's enough to get solid results for advertisers yet. So I don't want to burn that bridge. I want to wait until I know I can get them results, and then we'll go full force on building the revenue.
And I'm sorry, Shane, I may have missed a bit. How long have you been doing this?
Since January with the Daily Umbrella, but we've been doing, email blasts of some sort for 20 years probably.
So you've built the Daily Umbrella up to 10,000 since January?
Yes. Now, if I'm being
That's
totally
impressive.
if I'm being totally honest, we pushed a number of those emails in that were signed up for other things for us.
But they haven't opted out.
Yeah, some certainly do, but most haven't.
Cool, thank you.
Shane, we have a question in the chat, and the question is, how much do you think this is costing you to put out? What do you have in it?
Pennies,
Okay.
time certainly, but very, very little money.
And the same question for Janelle and Rihanna, please.
You want to answer that, Rajana?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that just one more time? I'm in a kind of iffy area.
Just how much do you think it's costing you? What's the dollar amount you put on each blast that you're doing, would you think?
I would say, I mean, with the email systems that we've been able to use in our packaging, we've mostly been able to stay on the free route because we maybe don't have any marketing contacts as some other companies would. Like with Shane's mass emails there, he's reaching a lot more people every single day than what our targeted audience is. So that amount is free under our plan. But in terms of time, I don't know. I think in terms of the time versus money, I'm really not spending a whole lot on it, especially when I'm duplicating those emails week after week. Yeah, it's really the amount of revenue that we bring in really highly outweighs the amount of time and effort that I'd be spending on those emails.
Okay.
Shane, I have one more question. So what made you choose the Daily Umbrella as a heading? Is that part of the name of your newspaper, or how is it tied in with, like how do you tie in the newspaper with your email blasts so they know it's the same?
The name of our company is called Big Green Umbrella Media.
Okay.
So I wanted to play off of that and kind of have it be the overall piece that brings promotion of all of our publications together. So that's why I went with our corporate name, playing off that.
But
I think the name Umbrella just says we cover things,
encompassing, yes.
We cover news, we got you covered for advertising. We got things covered.
I thought it was a cute name, but so do they associate that with the newspaper? Because that's your corporate name, but the newspaper is a different name, correct?
We don't really publish a newspaper.
Okay. I'm
we
sorry.
publish monthly lifestyle magazines and arts and entertainment magazines and publications. But I think in our market, people know what Big Green Umbrella Media is because it's promoted as part of each publication.
Yeah, so each of us would kind of have to come up with a catchy type phrase for our daily if we chose to do something similar to what you're doing. So it would tie in, correct? I mean, we're trying to get them to associate the newspaper with the blog or what do you call it, a daily newsletter? Is that what you're calling it? Okay. Thank you.
Anyway, thanks to Tim Bingaman for pushing me to get something started like this, and thanks to Axios for pushing me to actually get it done.
How come nobody ever says Tim Bingaman gave me a great idea over a glass of milk?
So Tim, you and I had just a little conversation about some of the most searched for things. Could you share that with the group in case there's anybody on the fence about doing a newsletter, e-blast, etc.?
Yeah, the digital offerings are becoming more and more popular. We measure, what media buyers are looking at within our systems. Print is still, the vast majority of searches, but email is second, and it's second by a long shot. Third is social media and website traffic, and it's less than half of the searches that email marketing and email media includes. So oftentimes, particularly in 2020, we had publishers substantially cutting their print circulation. But when we look at what we call their gross contacts measurement now, which is new, if it's not on your audit reports currently, it will be on your next audit reports that's issued. We have nearly every single one of our clients, well over 70%, who are increasing their audiences substantially because of email marketing, because of increased website traffic, because of digital editions, because of social media. And so the print net circulation number is really being replaced by what's called the gross contacts number. And so I would encourage all of you to, participate in as much digital as you can. But I really feel like email marketing is the no-brainer because it's the one that most closely resembles what you're used to, print, and it's one that is easily put in place and maintained with relatively little cost and relatively little time compared to a lot of other things that you might have to do. So I'm a big believer in email marketing. I've been talking about it for years. I think you almost have to do it because if you don't, your competitors certainly will. And you want to be out in front of all of these things within your market. Email marketing is going to play a larger and larger role. And I like what Shane did on his check boxes. There's a lot of good examples out there for those of you who are interested in them. I put my email up earlier. If you want to send me an email, I'll send you a list. It's the same list I sent Shane 3 or 4 years ago after we had our email conversation. It's publications like Portland Monthly, D Magazine, which is Dallas's city and regional magazine, 5280, which is Denver's city and regional magazine, Yankee Magazine, which is New England's city and regional magazine, Our State Magazine out of North Carolina. All of these magazines are light years ahead of the free paper industry on digital marketing. And take what they've done with their email newsletters, very similar to the sign up that Shane has. Every single one of your special sections can become an email newsletter. An email newsletter doesn't have to go out once a month or once a week. It can go out 4 times a year or even once a year. You may have a county fair email newsletter that only goes out for 2 or 3 months a year, before and during the county fair. So there's really no limit. Anything that you're doing that is special can have an email newsletter component, and just make it easy on your site for people to click it and sign up. You can begin offering them limited content, and if you're a shopper, content is a little bit harder to get to, but there's plenty of inexpensive content out there. You could certainly share with other publishers within MFCP who have editorial staff. So there's a lot of options for you on email marketing. And I'm a big believer in it.
Thank you. So last week, I also had an opportunity to speak with Robin Smith. He is the owner of Ask CRM. And Robin, you issued a couple words of caution on some e-blast, particularly about images not showing or things going to spam. Do you want to speak to any of that for us, or ideas you'd like to share with the group?
Good thing, Lee. First, I'd like to commend both parties for creating wonderful looking pieces. What I often see, and we focus more on the B2B side versus the B2 consumer side. But anyway, one of the keys is having an email that is not a 100% graphic. And what I often see is folks getting their graphics department to create this, we'll call it an image, a sales brochure, let's say, and then they convert that from InDesign or Photoshop into a JPEG, and then they slap that JPEG into an HTML piece. Well, that's not really HTML. You need to create it in something that's actually going to write HTML. And both parties are doing that. Obviously, the easiest way to tell is when you bring up one of those pieces, you can actually select the text if you wanted to. As opposed to some that's just one big image. You see a bunch of text, but you can't select it because it's an image. So first off, does that all make sense to folks? Everybody okay with what I'm talking about there? And the problems with that and what these folks have not caused is that if someone on the other end is receiving an email that is, and they're blocking images, if your email is entirely an image, they're not going to see anything. So they're not going to open it. They're likely not to open it. Whereas if it's mostly text, and that doesn't mean the text has to be plain. Shane, you did yours in a kind of report kind of format, absolutely fine. But I noticed on the other ones for the other folks, they had some formatting to their fonts. Fantastic. You can make it look as pretty as you want. But the key was do it in some kind of software that actually writes HTML. That was the key. Also, one thing, I don't know if you guys do this or not, but pay attention to whatever you're using. Is it creating it as a responsive piece? Meaning will it open differently on a tablet versus a smartphone versus a desktop? That's a really important element to pay attention to. One more thing, the testing. I liked how you said you seed your email address in the testing and the sending. I would go a step further and create a test group. Send it to the test group first. Look at that test group, and it should be different. It should be Gmail accounts, Yahoo accounts, AOL accounts, all kinds of different accounts. So look at it differently because not everybody's the same. Email is not the same to everyone. So just help yourself out and send the test first, then send the live version.
Good, good.
You know, Lee, I have a question for everybody, if I can jump in. So I can't get a straight answer on what constitutes an open. And it depends on what, if you're using a phone or if you're using a desktop, or it depends on, what your email provider is, and on and on and on. So I often wonder, like when I get an email on my phone and I don't physically open it, I just read the email from within the email inbox. Is that an open, or isn't it?
Shane, let me comment on that. I've been reading a lot of things. That is changing dramatically. And folks like Apple, Gmail are going to start, as soon as it hits your inbox, it's opened. So your open rate is not going to play out anymore. They're ruining that. So you have to start talking about click-throughs. That's going to be the measurement of choice coming forward, because pretty soon it's going to be like a 98% open rate. I've exaggerated a little bit, but that's a problem coming, Shane. You're right.
But I rarely click through. I usually read it from within the email list.
I hear you. I hear you.
Does anybody else do that, or am I alone on that?
I think a lot of folks, look at it in their preview screen like you're doing and don't actually click and open the email. Well outside my expertise, if Jim Kennedy was on the call, he could give you a half an hour talk and bore you to death on it. But it's my understanding that even in your preview screen, in most cases, that's counting as an open. And so as you're looking at that, and Robin's right, all that's going to change. And, these digital measurements, one term becomes outdated almost the day it's introduced, because it's going to be replaced by something else. So, and what's interesting, Shane, when you said you had a 22% open rate, we do a lot of training sessions with our clients after we release these audit reports. I can count on one hand, out of the hundreds of trainings I've done so far this year, I can count on one hand the number of publishers that had an open rate above 20%. So anything, they may say 20% is the goal and 22% is the average, but I'll tell you, if you're getting even close to that or above that, you're in an elite class and an elite group on open rate.
And that's probably one of the most frustrating things, is for most of us that are doing home delivered publications, and we're being read in 7 or 8 households out of 10, to look at an email and go, not even 2 out of 10 are reading it. For people who actually signed up for it, that's a tough pill to swallow as a publisher, but you just got to know the averages and know where you stand. And, and be real about it. But I think most people that are buying that type of advertising know that those open rate averages are lower. And it may sound low to you, but it's actually a pretty good number.
I'm just sitting here thinking about the question and the changes that are coming. Perhaps, and both of you can experiment with this, but perhaps you don't expose the entire content in your email. You create some teasers that then drive them through a click-through link to get the full article or the full story. Maybe that's an approach, and then maybe you get more of an idea of your click-throughs. I don't know that that'll work, but maybe that's a way to get some of your click-throughs to happen.
But we had a question in the chat, and the question is, how would you go about creating an HTML-friendly header or image? And is it certain coding, or is it a software that you would use?
So the various email marketing services have drag and drop functionality. I'm not sure if they are responsive in nature or not, and those produce HTML pieces. But in others, in CRM systems, oftentimes there is not an HTML editor to create a robust email marketing piece. So there's one software that I have found out there that is very inexpensive that will do that will do responsive email design and also write the HTML code to get it through the Outlook filters, the AOL filters, those kinds of things, which are things that you cannot do on the other platforms. But anyway, it's something called Email Designer by a company called Coffee Cup Software. Coffee Cup Software. The website is coffeecup.com. They've got a software called Email Designer. It's $129, and they do an amazing job of supporting your email design. You can create templates, create elements you can reuse from piece to piece. It is not drag and drop, but anybody that's done image design will be able to use this in no time. It's very robust. Okay.
All right. Do we have other questions?
Let me just jump in a moment. My web designer that I use, he has mentioned that every email that comes to my email service online, as it gets forwarded to my Outlook or my phone, it counts it as actually being, an email that's been read or opened. And so getting back to that previous question, whether they were open or not, that's my understanding. And so I have gone to 3 because I have a laptop and I'm using the Outlook online, but on my computer, I don't, because I get so frustrated that once it gets read on one device, it's no longer as unread. When I'm sitting at my desk, I want those emails unread. So I'm still using 2011 or whatever it is. Getting back to the other thing now, I'm one person in my company. I don't have somebody else that gets up at 5 a.m. to do stuff. However, periodically, when I get a story that I put in my tidbits paper, I will put it online on my website. And then with just a simple click, I can share it through the social media. Almost all the time that I do that, I do see an uptick in my website because, it goes to, like say Facebook, they read a paragraph or less than a paragraph and click more, and I get that click through. So click throughs are important if you can get it back to your own website, because once you get them on your website, you all know all of a sudden they have access to everything you want to show them. So yeah, these emails, I personally don't have time, but I wanted to get here and watch this and learn a little bit more about what you are doing, because maybe someday I will have more than myself. And I would love to be doing these email blasts. And I can definitely see that, I would read Shane's email. I should probably get on your email blast. Because if you have a click through, I'd probably click on it. I like a story. And if it's an email blast coming from a group, just like MFCP, I click on the MFCP ones because I feel safe. But when I get an email from you know, certain companies, even if I kind of read the email, I don't dare click on anything because I don't want my computer to freeze up. And so click-throughs can be precarious because, you know, as most people know, a lot of times if you're on a Google website and you click on something, you know, you're calling your IT person immediately. And so that's all I got to say. But Shane, you're doing a great job. I wish there was a lot of revenue there at this point because I'd probably get somebody and start trying to get that. I realize that it's going to take time. And, you know, if you've done it for 8 months on this current one, yes, I do believe that's a pretty good start. So hopefully there's some revenue in the near future for you with it.
Well, and speaking to Russ's comment, the newspapers, I mean, in general, community newspapers want to be seen as the trusted provider for local news and stuff. So maybe, you know, if they are doing click-throughs to your, you know, your email, at least that's showing that they trust you as a company or they are aware of you anyway. So that's a good thing too.
It is. All right. Are there any other questions for our presenters today?
The last comment I would make, Lee, is I haven't gotten real hung up on building revenue on it yet for 2 reasons. Again, one, I think that'll come. I got to build the audience first. And 2, you know, how much do we spend on marketing our publications? Very, very little, if anything, right? So I view the time and money that we put into this as marketing for us. And, you know, I've heard Brad Hicks say this before. We've got to find ways to reach out and find new readers. And this is one of those ways to do that. And it's pretty darn cheap when you look at it that way.
Good. So just a reminder, if you haven't put your email in the chat, please do so. We'll be sending out the slide deck from today's call. And I will be providing the email addresses, your email address to our speakers. Then you can maybe get on their list and see what they're doing on a regular basis. I did want to say that, you know, this has been a great session. I think it's been very worthwhile, worth everybody's time. I can't thank the speakers enough. We are trying to do a monthly call. You know, MFCP is always about learning and sharing, as is the whole industry. We're going to try and do a monthly call. And so if there's something you want to know more about, if there's something that you need help with, or if there's something you can share, reach out to me and let's see if we can't put that together for September, October, whatever. Also, when I say what can you share, the conference is coming up. It's coming up September 17th and 18th. We're going to be in Des Moines. It's a joint conference this year with ACP. And one of the things at ACP that I know will make it worth your time to go is the idea exchange. So everybody has ideas. Everybody's doing different things in their publications. I'd encourage you to register for conference and register to be in the idea exchange and share your knowledge and your best ideas with your peers. And who knows, you might come away a winner. First prize is $500. So if you haven't registered for conference, I would encourage you to do that. You can go right to mfcp.org and there's a link that'll take you to the site. And I would like to say that the board did vote to give away to one person 2 free room nights. If you're already registered, you're in the drawing. If you haven't registered, you have to be registered by August 20th. And then once you're registered, you're automatically in line for 2 free room nights. So that all the ideas you take away from the conference always pay for it, without a doubt, but 2 free room nights are going to make it pay you. So anyway, I think that's all I had for today. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add. Sure appreciate the time. I would like to ask that Robin and Brianna and Janelle stay on the line if you could, because Robin had wanted to meet you and I was supposed to have sent you an email last week. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a couple minutes to visit, I would sure appreciate it. But to everybody else, thank you so much. Sure appreciate your being on the call. The call is recorded and I will get the link out to everybody that provided their email address to us. So you'll get a copy of the call and the slide deck.
Thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you all. We'll see you soon. We'll see you in Des Moines.
Everyone.
Take care.
Hey, Lee,
What do you need, Russ?
I was wondering, it just dawned on me while we're doing the Zoom here at the end. As you know, I emailed you. I'm having my other knee replaced here at the first of the month, so I won't be at the conference. Is there any way to have part of the conferences maybe through a Zoom, so myself and maybe others that can't make it could at least participate? You know, watching some of the conference. I mean, I realize I won't be there to be able to go see the vendors or talk in person to anybody, but just to be able, you know, I could easily be at home watching a Zoom versus watching, you know, a repeated Western show.
No, I will ask the committee. I'm talking with the national committee later, so I will certainly bring it up.
Yeah,
What?
I mean, I definitely, as long as I'm not at physical therapy, I'd be, you know, glad to zoom in and watch any of the portions that are able to be, you know, available.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Russ.
You're welcome. You have a great day, and
You
thanks
too.
for everybody else. I believe this was a great meeting. Take care.
See ya. Bye. Okay, so there we go. I was supposed to have sent an email. Robin's got an interesting product. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. And I know he's looking to grow it and evolve it. And a lot of what you're doing with your email fits in perfectly with kind of his plan. So you're the co-host. I made you the co-host earlier. And so I'm going to go ahead and log off and let you guys chat. And I
Thank you.
think the other people just have their line open. I don't
Why
think
don't
they're
you
on.
drop Jerry off there? You can.
I do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, go that little block in the top right.
Yeah.
I should be able to say just push him out of there, I think.
It's like a
Remove.
remove participant, I believe, when
there
you
you go.
click on it.
There he goes.
He's gone,
Okay.
but don't report it because there's no problems. Yeah.
All right, you stopped recording now also?
No. So let me figure that out. Recording.